this goes back to that bad case study that I presented, or poor case study with claiming. I kind of touched on it, but one real life example was we had activities in there that was install a certain vendor's material, and we actually got those delivered to site early on. And so we had to unload that material and then store it. And we want at the month end, we wanted to get paid because we had to pay the vendor for delivering the material. Well, the owner's like, well, you haven't installed it, and the activity you're showing in the schedule says install material. So there was a little bit back and forth on how we should correctly claim this. If we would have known that early on, we would have been able to handle it and had, an unload activity added to the schedule earlier. There was back and forth. The owner worked with us on this one. Actually, it ended up being fine, but that was just some things that we had to go through early on that we wouldn't have had to if we would have known what type of claiming scheme or structure we should be kind of aligning with. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm going to address that owner because it is the top question right now. It's more of a comment where the owner wanted lines in the estimate to be the same as the schedule for transparency. And that really is that, what is it? The owner buy-in and early alignment are critical to success. The last thing you want to do there is be running your schedule in a different structure that your owner like requires, and you're trying to basically have two different schedules at the same time. And a lot of that can be handled during that early estimate process when you build that, initial level 3 schedule. Um, yeah, just talk it out with that owner upon award and see, because a lot of times they're like, I was helping with a advanced work package, very critical owner that wanted it a certain way, and every IWP needed to be its own activity line, and they wanted that during the estimate, and I had no idea how we were going to do that in the estimate. So a lot of back and forth with the owner on that one to get them kind of that CWP level instead, if you guys know that terminology, because if not, it just becomes a giant nightmare where you have just multiple, I think it's like a 2 or 3 week time cap on those IWPs, and you're trying to roll that all up to an activity and communicate that back and forth. And that's just going to end up taking more people in your indirects to try to manage that. So that early alignments and that communication with the owner, just to know what they need. And that leaks into that last one about reporting and transparency. Just know what you're buying into on that front end during the estimate, because that has turned around and bit a lot of us on the execution side when you're actually required to give way more detail or a different alignment than what you're prepared to do on the estimating side. Jordan, I don't know if you've run across any of that. I'm sure you have, but
Yeah, I was going to touch on the owner buy-in one, which you covered most of the points I was going to say. But even in my experience, if you get in with the owner early enough at estimate time, and they're talking about you needing a one-to-one alignment between the estimate and the schedule, and you have a different approach to it, a lot of times owners can be, I would say, in my experience, flexible, and they will allow you to kind of adjust that as needed to make sense. So if you work with them early on, a lot of times those specs you see maybe have written for a different project, and it's a boilerplate spec that they had no idea what they said at the time. So if you go and present it to them and say, "Hey, I want to do it a different way," then maybe they work with you early on and are a little bit more flexible. I've seen that in my experience where they're absolutely flexible to work with you for whatever works. So,
yeah, especially on the estimate side when they want a third like pay item form filled out that doesn't line up with your cost approach or your work breakdown approach either. So there were proposals where I had 3 different structures of all the same thing, right? So it's easy to make mistakes and have errors throughout those, and it's a kind of a pain. So getting that aligned early on with the owner is very, very helpful.